My name is Courtney Natseway, and this is the Mvskoke Gardening series. If you're interested in gardening, you can come out to the community garden at the College of the Muscogee Nation every Thursday from 11 to 12. Our garden is open to the public. I'll be out here in person, and you can come ask me any questions. Today's topic is transplanting, or moving your plants from a pot into the ground outside in your garden. So some gardeners like to start from seed directly outside. Some gardeners like to purchase plants from the stores and plant those in their garden. And some gardeners, like myself, like to start their seeds indoors in a pot and then move it outdoors. So today what we're going to cover is moving your plants outside. One of the first things to consider before transplanting is timing and temperature. So you're going to want to move your plants outside once the chance of frost has passed. Frost usually occurs between 30 and 35 degrees Fahrenheit. And our summer crops like our beans, our corn, our squash, our melons can't really handle those super cold temperatures. So you're going to want to move them outside once the chance of that has passed. According to the USDA's hardiness map, the average last frost in Oklahoma is about April 15th. Those of us who have lived in Oklahoma for a long time know that we still have snow and frost well into April. So a general rule of thumb for my garden, I always move plants outside after May 1st. I feel like that's a good and safe time when any chance of frost has passed. We might still have some chilly mornings, but it's not frosty. So before you move your plants outdoors, you're going to want to acclimate them to the outdoor conditions. They've been living inside in lower light in a more regulated temperature. So you don't want to shock them and move them outside and expose them to full sunlight, expose them to wind, expose them to insects. You want to slowly harden them off to those conditions. One thing I recommend is kind of taking 3 or 4 days to get this process done. I would usually start by moving my plants outdoors into a shady spot. This could be under a tree. When I'm here at the garden, I usually put them under our gazebo. I usually leave them out here for a full day. After a full day, I'll move them out into the sunrise so that they get some direct sunlight, but it's not so hot and intense, and then I'll move them back into the shade. Then I'll move them into the sunset later in the evening again so they get some direct sunlight, but not anything super intense or hot. By the 3rd day, I'll usually move them out at sunrise and then just leave them outside all day exposed to direct sun. Usually by that point, they're good and acclimated, and by the end of the day or the next morning, they'll be ready to put in ground. So after keeping the plants in shade for a full day, I like to bring them outside into direct sun, usually in the morning, for about a couple of hours. This way they get direct sun exposure without getting any intense heat or any super high sunlight like at high noon. On a cellular level, plants have a compound called chitin in their leaves. This is like a waxy layer that protects them from getting scorched from the sun. So hardening off and acclimating them to direct sunlight helps them build up that chitin so they're not so shocked when they go into the ground. So after your plants are acclimated and hardened off, it's time to put them in the ground. One thing I recommend is just digging a hole that's slightly bigger than the pot they're in. It doesn't have to be twice the size or anything like that, just a little bit bigger. And then I like to squeeze the pot just to loosen it up and turn it upside down into my hand. You can see all the good roots. And then just put it in the pot. I like to compact it just to give it a good little tuck. I think that helps support it. We'll do the same with this one. hose and water them in just a little bit. So once they're transplanted, I like to keep them good and moist for about a day or two. After a day or two, it's important to let them dry out completely in between waterings. That's going to encourage your plants to root into your soil. When you let them dry out, those roots are going to kind of grow and they're going to venture out looking for moisture. That's going to help them get better established in your garden beds. So some tools that we might need for transplanting: gloves if you don't like to get your hands dirty. I love playing in the dirt. So you'll also need a good small shovel, handheld shovel to dig your hole. And that's really it. Maybe a hose to water also. A lot of people like to overcomplicate transplanting and, you know, dig a hole and fill it with fertilizer and peat moss and all of this extra stuff. But the plants really don't need that. I think the simpler, the better, and also it's a lot cheaper when you don't add all this extra stuff into the hole.
Hello, this is the Three Sisters garden here. And here we have the Okmulgee and Tahoya and Talago, the corn, beans, and squash. And this is an old tradition of being able to understand the traditional ecological knowledge development of how the soil works and how the plants help each other. And they help like that, and then they're able to grow really good and luscious food. This is called Tahaya. The squash here, Tahaya Lane. That's a good one. And this is the Ajihatke. And this is Talago in Jaga. The pole bean. I think that's what that is. Well, there's so many different types of beans. We got purple hull peas out here, but this is one of the things that we have put together here. Punaga dari hajome istijari imeida hajome mijaget yunitai bokhalagitos, and we've evolved to do this and expanded it to amplify this system, and many people around the country are now utilizing this. Ya ajidat hunanwa oiris hadam hokde. So it's both male and female. So when the kernels start coming out, we know that the pollen has already reached down to the cob, and as it begins to grow, each kernel, during the process, we see all these other insects here taking part in its evolution. So every little corn brings us several hundred more on the cob. So it's good to respect this. As Muscogee people, we have our green corn ceremony, and we want to be able to provide organic corn to our ceremonies and teach the people that the differences in the many different types of corn that we now have. But our organic corn is basically for consumption and to help other species. So look deeper into our ways, and you can understand how we can survive in a sustainable manner. This is one right here. Corn, beans, and squash. Three sisters.
So when you guys come visit the garden, make sure you check out some of the art that's been done by our students. This one was done by Taylor Sanders. He's a student here at the Tribal College. We have more to come. We actually just got a grant recently to buy supplies so the students can start putting art out here. We usually have free plants available when people come out. We have a lot of tobacco in the greenhouse, and I think that makes a great gift. So anyone who's interested, we always, give them a tobacco plant to leave with. But everybody for watching Mvskoke Gardening series. Again, if you want to come out and visit the garden in person and ask some questions about gardening, our garden's open to the public every Thursday from 11 to 12 here at the College of the Muscogee Nation.